Hallo everybody! I had a feeling that this game would probably focus more on its stunning artwork and less so on the quality of gameplay. But now, after having played a fair amount of matches, I have to say that I had more enjoyment and fun with this game than with any other TCG. I had more fun with this than when I played Magic. I had more enjoyment than with Flesh and Blood. And so now I want to take a look at the reasons for this. So first of all, the overall fun factor is really high in this game. And I think a great part of this comes from the thematic mechanics in this game. So let's take a look at one specific card. And this is a big frog. And its ability is that when it comes into play, you can put the frog on another card. And then this card under it is disabled. But now let's take a look at how they have written the text for this card. So Genesis means that this ability triggers in the moment that this card enters play. But you notice how they didn't write the card underneath. They said the frog swallows the other creature. And then instead of saying the other card remains under this card, they wrote he carries it in his belly. So you see the big focus on thematic wording and the overall thematic feeling of this game. It really seems like they had a blast with coming up with these different abilities. Through the dimension of the board, you can have a lot more interesting skills and distinct feeling units than in another regular card game. So by describing how a unit moves on the board, they can make these cards feel truly unique. Let's have a look at this crab. With very few words, they can lend character to this card. Another great example would be these frog men here. Again, very few words, but actually a great effect in making this card come alive once it is summoned on the board. But it doesn't stop there. They also introduce a vertical dimension to the game. So you see at every side on the board, a unit can be above ground or underground. For example, the water element has some monsters that when they are under a water site, they can emerge and then trigger powerful abilities. Or they can pull another character underwater, and if that character doesn't have the keyword submerge, it will die instantly. So to me, this card game starts to feel more and more like a video game with the memorable moments and interactions that you can have between these characters. And it's probably the most thematic card game that I have ever played. Another reason why this game is so good is the tactical nature of it. So with the positioning on the board, you have a lot of interesting choices to make. And at many times, it truly feels similar to a miniatures skirmish game. For example, there is an infamous card. It's a fat demon and he cannot move, but he has a hook that he can throw in a straight line. And the first unit that he hits, he will pull towards him and then he can strike it. And he has a quite high attack power, so he can threaten your creatures from across the board. So you have to maneuver around him, and there are many more characters and spells in the game that introduce similar tactical positioning puzzles. I also have to mention the resource system in this game. So you have a separate deck where you can pull your mana sites from. And with every site that you put into play, you make one square in the game passable. So you and your opponent together are creating the world. And these sites add another thematic flavor to the game. So it could be that one site is a volcano and its owner can make it erupt, damaging every unit it is close to. Or another site could be an air city that can move itself and all the units on top of it onto another square. So at the end of the day, all these things come together and make this game really come alive in its own way, in a very special way that I have not seen before in any other card game. There are also some things in the game that some people will not like. And probably the most prominent one will be the scarcity of cards. You only start with 3 spells in your hand and 3 mana sites. And every time that it's your turn, you're allowed to draw 1 card. But then you even have to choose, do I draw 1 more spell or do I draw a mana site? So anytime that you want to cast a spell, your hand will be quite limited. So you won't have a wide variety of options normally. And this can make some games feel like you have drawn your cards in a very problematic order and your opponent seems to have the best cards for the current situation in their hands. But then you can alleviate some of these problems by building your deck in a way that allows for more card draws, or you can choose an avatar, a main character, that allows you to pull more cards. The game is quite good for newcomers. I think the deck building is really straightforward and accessible. Overall, you need to understand how the different layers of the board work. So you could be above ground or underground. And some of the keywords are also very important to understand correctly. And also there are some interactions that can happen in the game where you may not know what to do, but there is a FAQ already online, and I think the fans and the creators of the game are quite happy to answer all the questions. So all in all, I can say that if you appreciate this art style, if you like very thematic games, and if you appreciate skirmish games and tactical positioning, and you love to come up with interesting interactions and combos in gameplay, but also in your deck building, then this game could be a great hit with you. So that was it for today. I appreciate and recognize any support that I get for this channel. And I thank you very much for watching and have a nice and peaceful day.